Captain Jake Morrison walked into the great hall with his German Shepherd Rex beside him. The hall was huge and filled with strange beings from across the galaxy. Crystal creatures that looked like walking diamonds sat next to slimy beings with many arms. Bug-like aliens with hard shells clicked their teeth as they watched. Jake and Rex enter the room. Jake wore his best uniform, but he felt small in this place. The walls went up so high he could barely see the top. Strange lights floated in the air and made colors he had never seen before. Rex stayed close to his side and looked around with alert brown eyes. The dog's ears moved as he listened to all the weird sounds. "Look at this," said a voice that sounded like breaking glass. One of the crystal beings stood up from a chair that was 3 times too big for a human. The humans brought their pets to a military meeting. Other aliens started making noises that Jake guessed was laughing. The bug creatures clicked their teeth faster. The slimy ones made wet sounds. A few other types of aliens Jake had never seen before joined in with their own strange noises. "I am Ambassador Zikanos," said the bug creature who seemed to be in charge. "We called you here to talk about a serious problem. Your people want to join our military alliance, but you refuse to follow our rules." Jake stood straight and looked at the ambassador. "What rules are those, sir?" "All advanced species gave up keeping animals long ago," Zikanos said. His voice sounded like someone scratching metal. "Animals are a waste of resources. They make soldiers weak because soldiers care about them instead of focusing on war. Every species in our alliance learned this basic truth thousands of years ago." A crystal being that sparkled blue and green spoke up. "I am High Commander Velther. My people stopped keeping pets when we learned to think clearly. Animals make you emotional, and emotions make you weak in battle." Rex sat down but kept watching all the aliens. His tail did not wag, but he did not growl either. Jake put his hand on the dog's head and felt the soft fur between his fingers. "Your species is strange," said another alien that looked like a walking tree with too many eyes. "You bring these creatures everywhere, on your ships and to your military bases. You even feed them when your own people sometimes go hungry. This makes no sense." Jake looked around the room and saw about 20 other humans standing against the walls. Each one had an animal partner with them. Amy Parker stood with her Belgian dog Scout, who had helped find bombs in 3 different wars. Ben Carter had his golden retriever Luna, who could find people trapped under broken buildings. Lisa Stone was there with her border collie Ranger, who was so smart he could understand hand signals from a mile away. "You want us to abandon our partners?" Jake said. It was not a question. "Yes," said Zikanos. "This is your last chance to join the civilized galaxy. Leave these animals on your home planet and become proper soldiers. Or go back to your little corner of space and stay there forever." The Crystal Commander Velther made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "We have watched your species for 50 years. You are not ready for real war. You waste time and energy on creatures that cannot think or plan or fight properly. Real soldiers do not need pets." Jake felt his face get hot, but he kept his voice calm. "These are not pets, sir. They are our partners. We work together." This made the aliens laugh even louder. The bug creatures clicked so fast it sounded like heavy rain on a metal roof. The slimy ones made sounds like water going down a drain. "Partners," repeated a new alien that Jake had not seen before. It was tall and thin with skin that changed colors. "You think these animals are equal to you? This proves how primitive your thinking is." Amy Parker stepped forward with Scout beside her. "My partner has saved over 200 lives. He can smell explosives that our best machines cannot detect." "Machines can be improved?" said the color-changing alien. "Animals cannot. They will always be limited by their simple brains." Ben Carter spoke up next. "Luna can find survivors in earthquake ruins when our sensors show nothing. She saved my life twice." "Luck," said Commander Velther. "Nothing more than luck." Lisa Stone and Ranger moved closer to the center of the room. Ranger can process tactical information and spot enemy movements that trained human soldiers miss. The aliens made more laughing sounds. Some of them started talking to each other in languages that sounded like music or static or the ocean. Jake could tell they were making fun of the humans and their animals. "Enough," said Ambassador Zikanos. "We have heard enough of your primitive beliefs. You have one choice. Give up these animals and join our alliance as proper soldiers, or leave and never return to civilized space." Jake looked at Rex, who looked back at him with trust in his dark eyes. He thought about all the missions they had been on together. All the times Rex had warned him about danger or helped him find the right path in dark places. He thought about the other handlers and their partners who had become family over the years. "We need an answer now," said Commander Velthor. "Will you abandon these creatures and become real soldiers?" Jake stood as tall as he could and looked around the room at all the alien faces watching him. Some looked curious and others looked annoyed. A few seemed bored, like they already knew what would happen. "No, sir," Jake said in a clear voice. "We serve together or we do not serve at all." The laughter that followed was the loudest yet. It echoed off the high walls and seemed to go on forever. When it finally stopped, Ambassador Zikanos spoke again. "Then you are dismissed from this alliance before you even joined. Take your pets and go home. Do not come back until you learn to think like civilized beings." Jake turned and walked toward the door with Rex beside him. The other humans and their partners followed. As they left the great hall behind them, the alien laughter continued. None of the humans looked back. 3 months passed since the aliens had laughed at the humans and their animal partners. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the stars through the big window. Rex lay on the floor beside his chair, sleeping quietly. The ship was called the HMS Loyalty, and it carried 200 humans and 60 dogs. Along with some horses in the lower levels, the human fleet had been sent to guard the edge of alien space. The aliens did not want humans fighting in important battles, so they gave them the boring job of watching empty space. Jake did not mind because it meant his people could work with their animals without anyone making fun of them. The quiet was broken by a loud beeping sound. Lieutenant Amy Parker ran onto the bridge with Scout right behind her. The dog looked worried and kept looking around the room. "Captain, we are getting a message," Amy said. "It sounds bad." Jake pressed a button and a voice filled the bridge. The voice was shaky and full of fear. "This is Admiral Corvex of the Zilithian Navy. All primary fleets have been destroyed or scattered. The enemy, called the Devourers, has broken through our main defense line. They are moving toward the core worlds." The voice stopped for a moment, and Jake could hear explosions in the background. "The Devourers adapt to our weapons faster than we can change them. Every time we shoot at them, they learn how to block our attacks. We need help from anyone who can fight." Jake looked at Amy and saw his own thoughts in her face. The aliens who had laughed at them were now asking for help from the humans they had sent away. "All ships respond to Admiral Corvex," Jake said into his communication device. "This is Captain Morrison of the human fleet. We are coming to help." "Major." Lisa Stone arrived on the bridge with her border collie Ranger. "Sir, the other ships are ready to move. Do we really want to help the aliens who treated us so badly?" Jake looked down at Rex, who had woken up and was watching him with intelligent eyes. "We do not fight for the aliens, Lisa. We fight because it is right." The human ships moved through space toward the battle zone. There were 12 ships total, with names like HMS Honor and HMS Courage and HMS Trust. Each ship carried humans and their animal partners ready to face an enemy they had never seen before. When they reached the battle area, Jake could see why the aliens were so scared. The Devourers were not like any enemy he had ever imagined. They looked like giant metal shapes that changed form as they moved. Some were round and some were long like snakes. All of them were dark gray and covered in lights that flashed in patterns too fast to follow. "They are machines," said Amy as she watched the enemy through the sensors, "but they move like they are alive." Scout was acting strange. The dog kept walking back and forth across the bridge and making small whining sounds. His ears were pointed forward and his nose was working hard, smelling the air. "What is wrong with him?" asked Lisa. Amy knelt down beside Scout and watched his behavior carefully. She had worked with the dog for 5 years and knew all his signals. He senses something we cannot detect. Scout, can you show me? The dog walked to a control panel and put his paw on it. Then he walked to another panel and did the same thing. Amy followed him and looked at the readings on both panels. That is impossible, she said. Scout is pointing to energy patterns that our instruments say are not there. Jake came over to look. What kind of patterns? The Devourers are sending out signals that our sensors cannot pick up. But Scout can sense them somehow. Look at this. Amy pointed to numbers on her screen. Every time Scout gets excited, these readings change just a little bit. Ben Carter and Luna had joined them on the bridge. Luna was also acting restless and kept looking at the same control panels that Scout had touched. Both dogs are sensing. The same thing, Ben said. That cannot be coincidence. The first Devourer ship attacked and Jake watched their weapons hit the enemy hull. The machine ship glowed for a moment, then the glow faded. When the human ships fired again, their weapons did much less damage. It learned how to defend against our attack in just a few seconds, said the weapons officer. Jake was about to order a retreat when Scout started barking. The dog was standing at Amy's control panel and barking at specific buttons. Amy looked at the readings and her eyes went wide. Scout is showing me a weakness, she said quickly. The Devourers have to drop their shields for just a moment when they adapt to new weapons. Scout can sense when that happens. How long do we have? Jake asked. Amy watched Scout carefully as the dog's behavior changed. He's getting excited. Again, now, Captain. Jake ordered all ships to fire at once. Their weapons hit the Devourer ship just as its shields were changing. The enemy ship took heavy damage and started to drift in space. It worked, said Lisa. The dog found a way to hurt them. More Devourer ships came toward them, but now the humans had an advantage. Scout and Luna could sense when the enemy shields were weak. Amy and Ben could time their attacks perfectly by watching their dogs. The battle lasted for 6 hours. The human fleet destroyed 8 Devourer ships and forced the rest to retreat. No human ships were lost and only a few people were hurt. When the battle was over, Admiral Corvex called the human ships again. This time his voice was different. Instead of fear, Jake heard surprise and maybe a little respect. Human ships, this is Admiral Corvex. How did you defeat the Devourers when our best fleets could not hurt them? Jake smiled and looked down at Rex, who was wagging his tail now that the danger was over. We had help from our partners, Admiral. The ones you called useless animals. There was a long silence before the Admiral spoke again. We would like to know more about these partners of yours. Amy Parker was checking Scout's health and giving him treats for his good work. Sir, should we tell them how the dogs helped us? Jake thought about the aliens laughing in the Great Hall. Then he thought about all the innocent people on the core. Worlds who needed protection from the Devourers. Yes, Amy, we tell them everything. Maybe they will learn something. Ben Carter was doing the same thing with Luna, and the dog looked very proud of herself. The other alien fleets are asking to work with us. They want our help against more Devourer attacks. Then we help them, Jake said. But we do it our way with our partners. Lisa Stone and Ranger were already planning the next mission. The dog seemed to understand that more battles were coming and was ready to do his part. The human fleet moved deeper into alien space to face more Devourer attacks. For the first time since joining the galactic community, the aliens were asking humans for help instead of laughing at them. And the humans were ready to give that help with their loyal animal partners by their side. The war against the Devourers was getting worse. Jake Morrison watched from his ship as another alien fleet ran away from the metal enemies. The crystal beings and bug creatures and slimy aliens were losing every big battle. Their weapons could not keep up with how fast the Devourers learned to defend themselves, but something strange was happening. More and more alien commanders were asking to work with the human ships. They had seen how Scout and Luna and the other dogs could help win battles. Now they wanted to understand how it worked. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was working on a science ship with her dog Copper when the Devourers tried a new kind of attack. Instead of shooting weapons, they sent invisible signals that tried to take control of the ship's computers. The alien scientists could not detect these signals at all. Copper started acting very strange. The brown dog kept walking around the computer room and whining at certain machines. Elena had worked with Copper for 4 years and knew when he was trying to tell her something important. "What is it, boy?" Elena asked. She followed Copper as he walked from machine to machine. Every time the dog stopped and pawed at a computer, Elena checked what it was doing. "This is impossible," she said to the Vortex scientists working with her. The crystal beings came over to see what Elena had found. "Copper is pointing to computers that show no problems. But when I look deeper, I find that someone is trying to break into our systems." Commander Rackthul was a crystal being who sparkled purple when he was confused. "Your animal can detect computer intrusions that our best sensors cannot find?" Elena watched Copper carefully as he moved around the room. The dog would stop at a computer for a few seconds, then move to another one. Each time Elena checked, she found that the devourers were trying to hack into that exact machine. "He can sense electrical patterns that we cannot measure," Elena said. "Dogs have senses that work differently than ours or yours." "Copper knows when something is wrong with the ship's electrical system, even when our instruments show everything is normal." The crystal scientists looked at each other and made sounds like wind chimes. Elena knew this meant they were very surprised. The Vorthak had always believed their crystal brains were the best at detecting energy patterns. "How is this possible?" asked another crystal scientist named Velmore. "We have studied energy detection for thousands of years. No biological creature should be able to sense quantum fluctuations in computer networks." Elena smiled and scratched Copper behind his ears. "That is because you think of Copper as just an animal. But he is my partner. We work together, and together we can do things that neither of us could do alone." On the planet Haven Prime, the Devourers had landed ground forces for the first time. The metal enemies looked like giant spiders made of dark steel. They moved fast and could change their shape to fit through small spaces. The alien ground forces were running away as fast as they could. Sergeant Ben Carter and Luna were part of a rescue team trying to save civilians trapped in the damaged cities. The Devourer attacks had knocked down many buildings and cut the power to all the sensors. The alien rescue teams could not find survivors in the rubble. Luna put her nose to the ground and started following a scent trail. Ben followed her as she led him through the broken streets. The dog stopped at a pile of concrete and steel that used to be a school. "I do not detect any life signs," said the alien commander working with Ben. The bug creature's sensors showed nothing but empty space under the rubble. Luna started digging at a specific spot and barking. Ben trusted his partner and started moving rocks where she indicated. After 20 minutes of digging, they heard a voice calling for help. "Down here," came a weak voice. "We are trapped but alive." Ben and the alien rescue team dug deeper and found 12 survivors, including 6 children. They had been trapped for 3 days with no food or water. If Luna had not found them, they would have died. "How did your animal know they were there?" asked the alien commander. "Our sensors detected nothing." Ben helped Luna drink some water as a reward for her good work. "Luna can smell things that your machines cannot detect. She can smell fear and sweat and even small amounts of air moving through tiny cracks in the rubble. To her, finding trapped people is easy." The alien commander looked at Luna with new respect. "We have been searching for survivors the wrong way. We relied only on our technology, but your partner uses different methods." Throughout the day, Luna found 37 more survivors that the alien teams had missed. Each time she led Ben to exact spots where people were trapped. The aliens watched in amazement as a simple dog did what their advanced equipment could not do, but the real surprise came during the evening battle. When Devourer spider machines attacked the rescue camp, Luna started acting strange. She kept running toward Ben, then back toward the camp entrance. Her ears were pointed forward and she was making small growling sounds. "Something is coming," Ben told the other soldiers. "Luna always knows before we do." The alien soldiers looked at their sensors but saw nothing. "There are no enemies within 5 miles of this position," said the bug commander. Luna kept getting more excited and started barking toward the hills outside the camp. Ben trusted his partner completely and ordered everyone to take cover. 30 seconds later, the first Devourer spiders appeared exactly where Luna had been looking. "Impossible," said the alien commander. "They were not there when we scanned." Ben was already shooting at the metal enemies. Luna can sense electrical fields and magnetic changes. She knew the Devourers were coming before they got close enough for your sensors to detect. The battle was hard, but the humans and aliens were ready because Luna had warned them. They won without losing anyone and destroyed all the Devourer spider machines. After the battle, the alien commander approached Ben and Luna. "I need to understand this partnership you speak of. Your animal does not just follow orders. She thinks and makes decisions." Ben sat down beside Luna and rubbed her head. "She does not just follow orders, we work together. I understand what she is telling me, and she understands what I need her to do. We have been partners for 6 years, and we trust each other completely." "But trust is an emotion," said the commander. "Emotions make soldiers weak and unreliable." Ben looked at the alien with surprise. "Trust does not make us weak. Trust makes us stronger. When I know Luna will warn me about danger, I can focus on other things. When she knows I will protect her, she can take risks to help others. Together we can do more than either of us could do alone." Back on the science ship, Elena was making a report to the alien high command. Copper sat beside her chair as she explained what they had learned about Devourer hacking attempts. "The enemy uses quantum-level intrusion techniques that bypass our detection systems," Elena said. "But biological neural networks can sense patterns that our computers miss. My partner Copper can detect these intrusions in real time." High Commander Velther listened to the report with growing amazement. The crystal being had never heard of biological creatures detecting quantum patterns. "You are saying that this animal has abilities that our most advanced technology lacks?" Velther asked. Elena nodded. "But more than that. When Copper and I work together, we can solve problems that neither of us could solve alone. He provides sensory input that I cannot get from instruments. I provide analysis and understanding that he cannot do alone. We are partners." The alien commanders looked at each other with confusion. They had spent thousands of years believing that technology was always better than biology. The idea that animals and humans working together could do things that pure technology could not do was hard for them to accept, but the evidence was clear. Human-animal teams were finding solutions to problems that had stopped the alien forces completely. The Devourers were still dangerous, but now there was hope for the first time since the war began. The final battle was coming, and everyone knew it. The Devourers had gathered their largest fleet ever seen and were moving toward Centauri Station. This was the most important supply base for all the alien fleets. If it fell, the war would be lost. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of HMS Loyalty watching the enemy ships approach. There were hundreds of them, and they looked bigger and more dangerous than before. Rex lay beside his chair, but the dog was not sleeping. His ears were up and his eyes were alert. Even Rex could sense that this battle would decide everything. "All ships report ready," said Amy Parker from her station. Scout was sitting beside her looking at the sensor displays. The dog had learned to read the patterns on the screens and could tell when enemy ships were close. Admiral Korvac spoke to all the ships in the combined fleet. His voice was serious but not afraid like it had been months ago. "This is our last chance to stop the Devourers. Every ship and every soldier must give everything they have." Jake looked around his bridge and saw humans and aliens working together for the first time. Crystal beings worked at computers while their human partners watched the sensor readings. Bug creatures planned attack patterns while human handlers and their dogs prepared for boarding actions. "The enemy is in weapons range," called out Lieutenant Tony Wells, his German shepherd. King was standing at attention beside the weapons controls. The battle began with the largest space fight anyone had ever seen. Thousands of ships fired weapons that lit up the darkness like artificial stars. The Devourer ships changed shape as they fought, making them hard to hit with normal tactics, but the human-animal teams were ready. Lisa Stone and Ranger worked with a Vorthek Crystal Commander to coordinate the attack patterns. Ranger could sense when the enemy ships were about to change formation, and Ranger would alert Lisa, who would tell the Crystal Commander, who would order the fleet to adjust their position. Amy Parker and Scout were tracking enemy weak points from multiple ships at once. Scout had learned to sense the electrical patterns of over 50 different Devourer types. When he detected a vulnerable moment, Amy would signal the entire fleet to concentrate fire on that exact spot. Ben Carter and Luna were on a boarding ship with alien Marines, preparing to attack a Devourer command vessel. Luna could smell the difference between the metal enemies and the organic crew they sometimes captured. This would help the rescue team save prisoners while fighting the machines. The battle went on for hours and both sides took heavy damage. But something was different this time. The alien commanders were not panicking like they had in previous fights. They were learning to trust the human-animal teams and follow their guidance even when it did not make logical sense. Commander Rackthul watched Jake Morrison work with Rex and realized something important. Your animal is not just detecting threats, the crystal being said. He is helping you make decisions. When you are unsure about something, you look at him and he helps you choose. Jake nodded while keeping his eyes on the battle display. Rex and I have been partners for 8 years. He knows how I think and I know how he senses the world. When we work together, we make better choices than either of us could make alone. The Crystal Commander had never heard of such a thing. In Vorthek society, each individual made decisions using pure logic. The idea that two different minds could work together to improve decision-making was completely new, but he could see it working. Jake would look at a tactical problem and consider several options. Then he would glance at Rex, who would look back at him with an expression that somehow conveyed information. Jake would make his choice based on both his own analysis and whatever Rex had communicated to him. This should not work, Rackthul said. Two minds thinking about the same problem should create confusion, not clarity. Jake smiled while giving orders to his weapons teams. That is because you think of Rex as a separate mind. But we are partners. We think together, not separately. The tide of battle began to turn when the human-animal teams started working together across multiple ships. Scout detected weak points in enemy formations. Ranger sensed when those formations were about to change. Luna identified which enemy ships had prisoners that needed rescue. King tracked the movement patterns of enemy reinforcements. All this information flowed through the human handlers to the alien commanders, who used it to coordinate attacks that the Devourers could not predict or counter. For the first time in the war, the machine intelligence was confused by tactics it could not understand, but victory came with a terrible price. HMS Loyalty took a direct hit from 3 Devourer ships at once. The ship's power failed and life support started shutting down. Jake knew his ship was dying and his crew had only minutes to escape. The escape pods could carry everyone off the ship, but there was a problem. The pods were designed for alien crews and were too small to carry both the humans and their animal partners. Jake had to choose between saving his people and saving their partners. Amy Parker stood in the pod bay holding Scout in her arms. Tears were running down her face as she looked at the small escape pod. There is not enough room for both of us. Ben Carter was having the same problem with Luna. The dog looked up at him with trust in her eyes, not understanding why he looked so sad. She saved dozens of lives in this war. She deserves to live. Jake made the hardest decision of his life. Put the animals in the pods first. We will find another way. Captain, there is no other way, said Lisa Stone. If we stay, we die with the ship. Jake knelt down beside Rex and looked into the dog's intelligent brown eyes. You have been the best partner anyone could ask for, boy. Take care of yourself. Rex seemed to understand that something was wrong. He whined softly and tried to stay close to Jake, but the captain gently pushed him toward the escape pod. Get them out of here, Jake ordered. Tell the rescue ships that these animals are heroes. Make sure they are taken care of. Amy sealed Scout into an escape pod and launched it toward the alien rescue ships. She watched through the small window as her partner drifted away from the dying ship. He does not understand why I am not with him. Ben did the same with Luna and Lisa launched. Ranger's pod? All across the ship, human soldiers were putting their animal partners into escape pods and sending them to safety while staying behind themselves. "Why are you doing this?" asked Commander Rakhthal, who was also trapped on the dying ship. "Your logic centers should tell you to save yourselves first." Jake watched the last escape pod disappear into space, carrying the animals to safety. "Because they are not just our partners. They are our family. We protect our family even if it costs us everything." The alien commander had never heard of such thinking. In his species, individuals always chose personal survival over group loyalty. But as he watched the humans sacrifice themselves to save their animals, he began to understand something that crystal logic could not explain. HMS loyalty exploded in a flash of light that could be seen across the entire battle zone. Jake Morrison and 63 other humans died with their ship rather than abandon their animal partners. But their sacrifice was not meaningless. The escape pods reached the rescue ship safely. Scout and Luna and Ranger and King and all the other animals were saved. The alien crews who recovered the pods looked at the animals with new understanding. These were not pets or tools. These were the partners of heroes who had given their lives to save them. The battle was won, but the cost was terrible. 30 human ships were destroyed and over 2,000 humans died. But their animal partners lived, and the alien survivors finally understood what the humans had been trying to tell them all along. Loyalty was not weakness. Love was not inefficiency. Partnership was not primitive thinking. These were the sources of strength that made humans and their animals capable of victories that pure logic could never achieve. 6 months after the Battle of Centauri Station, the galaxy was a different place. The Devourers had been defeated, and their remaining ships had retreated to unknown space beyond the outer rim. But the real change was not in the enemy's defeat. The real change was in how all the species of the galaxy thought about partnership and loyalty. Captain Sarah Murphy stood in the same great hall where Jake Morrison had been laughed at a year before. But this time the mood was completely different. The crystal beings and bug creatures and slimy aliens were not making fun of anyone. They were listening carefully as Sarah spoke about the new military alliance. Beside Sarah stood a young German shepherd named Honor. The dog was Rex's daughter and had inherited her father's intelligence and courage. Honor wore a special collar that marked her as a full member of the Galactic Fleet with the same rank as her human partner. The Integrated Species Defense Corps will be based on partnership rather than hierarchy, Sarah explained to the assembled representatives. Every species will contribute their unique strengths, and every individual will be valued for what they can offer. Ambassador Zikanos stood up from his chair. The bug creature who had once laughed at human animals now spoke with respect in his voice. "Captain Murphy, we owe your species an apology. We were wrong about the value of partnership. We were wrong about the strength that comes from loyalty." High Commander Velther sparkled blue and green as he spoke. The crystal beings of Vorthak have always believed that pure logic was the highest form of thinking. But we have learned that logic combined with emotional bonds creates capabilities that logic alone cannot achieve. Sarah nodded to both aliens. "We do not want apologies. We want cooperation. Humans and their animal partners are ready to work with any species that is willing to learn from our methods." Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in the front row with Copper beside her. The brown dog was now wearing the insignia of a Science Corps advisor. Elena had been promoted to Admiral of Research and was leading the galaxy's first interspecies partnership studies program. "We have documented over 300 examples of human-animal teams solving problems that stumped our best scientists," Elena said. "The key is not replacing technology with biology. The key is combining them in ways that create new possibilities." A new alien species that looked like walking flowers raised a question. "Admiral Rodriguez, how do we learn these partnership methods? Our people have never worked with animals." Elena smiled and scratched Copper behind his ears. "We start slowly, and we learn together. Some of your people might have natural talent for working with earth animals. Others might develop partnerships with creatures from your own worlds. The important thing is understanding that partnership is about trust and communication, not control. Major Lisa Stone entered the hall with Ranger beside her. The border collie had grown older but was still sharp and alert. Lisa now commanded the new Partnership Training Academy, where aliens from dozens of species came to learn how to work with animals. The first class of interspecies partnership teams graduated last week, Lisa announced. We have crystal beings, working with enhanced dolphins that can detect quantum fluctuations in space. We have bug creatures partnered with earth cats that can sense dimensional instabilities. We even have tree-like aliens working with horses that can navigate through gravitational anomalies. Commander Rackthal stood up to speak. The crystal being now worked directly with human teams and had learned to appreciate emotional bonds. I have been studying partnership methods for 6 months. At first I thought emotions would interfere with logical thinking, but I have discovered that emotions provide information that logic cannot process. Fear warns of danger that sensors might miss. Joy indicates successful cooperation. Love creates motivation that goes beyond simple programming. Amy Parker entered the hall with a young dog that looked exactly like Scout. The new dog was named Spirit and had inherited his father's amazing ability to detect energy patterns. Amy now held the rank of colonel and commanded all sensor operations for the new alliance. Spirit and I work with alien crews on 12 different ships, Amy said. Each species brings different strengths to our partnership. The crystal beings can process data faster than any human. The bug creatures can coordinate multiple tasks simultaneously. The flower aliens can predict long-term patterns that we miss. But when we combine all these abilities with the sensory input from our animal partners, we can accomplish things that none of us could do alone. Then Carter walked in with Luna beside him. The golden retriever was older now, but still eager to work. Ben commanded the new rescue and recovery corps that included teams from every major species in the Alliance. Last month, Luna and I worked with a Zolithian partner and her trained sea creature to rescue survivors from a collapsed space station, Ben reported. The sea creature could navigate through flooded sections that would have been impossible for any of us to reach. Luna could find survivors by scent even when they were unconscious. The Zolithian could coordinate with her partner using telepathic links that we are just beginning to understand. Together we saved 200 lives. The alien representatives listened to these reports with amazement. A year ago, they had considered partnership with animals to be a sign of primitive thinking. Now they were learning that such partnerships could create capabilities that pure technology could never match. A young crystal being named Zarthik asked a question that surprised everyone. Colonel Parker, would it be possible for my people to adopt some of the Earth animals as partners? We have studied the methods, but we think direct experience would be more valuable. Amy smiled and looked down at Spirit, who wagged his tail as if he understood the question. We have been hoping someone would ask that question. The Partnership Academy has been preparing Earth animals to work with different alien species. We have dogs trained to work with crystal beings and cats trained for bug creature partners. We even have horses ready to work with a large tree. Aliens! Sarah Murphy stepped forward to make the final announcement. The new Integrated Defense Corps will be headquartered at Centauri Station, where the Great Battle was won. But we will also have training centers on Earth where all species can come to learn partnership methods with animals from our home world. The hall erupted in sounds of approval from dozens of different species. Crystal beings chimed like wind. Instruments, bug creatures clicked in rapid rhythms. Flower aliens rustled like leaves in a breeze. For the first time in galactic history, all the major species were united not by conquest or treaty, but by shared understanding of partnership and loyalty. Elena Rodriguez stood up to read the memorial announcement. The Hall of Partnership at the new headquarters will honor all those who died learning these lessons. Captain Jake Morrison and Rex will be remembered as the first human-animal team to show the galaxy what true partnership means. Honor looked up at Sarah Murphy as if she understood that they were talking about her father. The young dog had inherited Rex's intelligence, but she had also inherited his sense of duty and loyalty. The inscription on the memorial will read partnership. Transcends species and loyalty transcends logic, Elena continued. But there will also be a simple message in the common language of the galaxy. It will say some bonds are stronger than the void between stars. As the ceremony ended, aliens from dozens of species approached the human teams to ask about partnership training. Young crystal beings wanted to learn about working with dogs. Bug creatures were curious about horse partners. Flower aliens asked about cats and birds and other earth creatures. Sarah Murphy watched all this activity with satisfaction. The galaxy had learned that strength came not from individual power but from working together. Humans and their animal partners had taught the universe that loyalty and love were not weaknesses, but the foundation of true courage. Honor wagged her tail and looked around the great hall where her father had once been laughed at for being a simple dog. Now that same hall was filled with aliens eager to learn what Rex had always known. Partnership was not about one being controlling another. It was about two different minds and hearts working together to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The age of individual species dominating through force was over. The age of multi-species partnership had begun. And it had started with humans who refused to abandon their animal friends even when the whole galaxy laughed at them for it.